Today we're going to be making some quick and flavorful refried beans. This great side dish can be served as a dip, with a side of rice how they serve in just about every Mexican restaurant, as a topping on nachos, and best of all, the extremely popular cheese and bean burrito. These are super simple to make, so let's get started. I'm going to be starting our clock at about 4 minutes, as that's how long it takes for me to set up for this dish. First, we'll prepare our aromatics by dicing some onions and tomatoes. We'll use about half a diced tomato. The recipe calls for half a Roma tomato, but you can use whatever you prefer. Next, we'll dice half of a medium-sized onion. That being said, we'll only use about a quarter of this large onion. I'll just use the rest of it in another recipe. Okay, in a hot pan, we'll add some vegetable oil and spread it all around to ensure we coat the entire bottom. Lard is also commonly used here, but the choice is yours. I prefer a neutral oil. Then we toss in our onions and tomatoes. Coat them with oil and sweat them for about 5 minutes on medium-low heat. In the meantime, we'll prepare our canned beans. This is a shortcut to the dry bean format in which most restaurants use, as they are much cheaper, especially when buying 50-pound bags. Anyway, refried beans are normally made with pinto beans. Here I'm dumping some of the liquid to make room for the immersion blender so that it doesn't spill and make a mess when we put the blender in. I'm going to blitz them for about 30 seconds right in the can. We move the blender up and down while blitzing to get most of them, but not all of them. We want to leave some hole for texture. If you don't have a blender, simply smash them with a potato smasher or the back of a wooden spoon once in the pot. I do highly recommend getting an immersion blender. It will save you a ton of time, especially with hot recipes requiring blending. Alright, with about a minute remaining on our aromatics, we add our seasoning to the pot. Add a couple of pinches of salt. Now remember, the liquid the beans came in are high in sodium, so be careful adding salt here. You can always add more after cooking them if need be. Add some chili powder, garlic powder, cumin, some fresh ground pepper, and chicken bouillon. Mix and cook for about a minute to wake up the spices. Now we add our beans. Mix well and simmer for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes of simmering, we give it another mix. They look very runny, but that's because they are extremely hot. They'll thicken up as they cool down a bit. Now we taste for seasoning and adjust if needed. These beans are ready to be served. But first we're going to make a couple of bean burritos. First, we must warm up our flour tortilla so that they are malleable and not break on us. We'll just warm them up for about 45 seconds per side on medium-low heat. Okay, now we place down our warm tortilla and spoon some of our beans in the center. These are small 8-inch size tortillas. The 10-inch burrito size are probably the best for a meal. This size is great for bite-sized snack burritos. Okay, now we add some cheese. Fold in the sides, then fold it over with your fingertips. Press and slide the tortilla in for a tight roll. Then, we carefully roll it. Next, we toast them a bit with the seam down to seal them and melt the cheese. We'll heat them up on medium-low heat for about 2 minutes per side or until they are golden brown. Now let's check one of them by cutting into it. This looks great. It's not too runny, but it's still hot and gooey. We can also use this recipe for some great nachos. Spoon over a good amount of beans, sprinkle some or lots of cheese, and top with jalapenos. Next, we broil them for about 3 to 4 minutes, keeping an eye on the chips so not to burn them. After 4 minutes, we take them out, top with some pico de gallo, and serve them right away. The great thing about these beans is that you can easily freeze and store them. This first bag was too small, so I got a bigger one. Here I'm using a mug so that it holds the bag upright for me, and I'm folding over the closing seams so that it doesn't get any food on it to ensure that it properly seals. Spoon in as much of the beans as you want. You can fill the bag or portion size it for precise measurements. Just use a scale. Okay, now we remove it from the mug. Flatten it out and let as much of the air out as possible before we seal it. You can do several bags and just stack them in the freezer to save space. This recipe took less than 30 minutes to make. This recipe also works great with black beans, but I wouldn't use canned kidney beans. They somehow don't work for me on this recipe. Anyway, this makes a great vegan recipe. All you have to do is omit the chicken bouillon. Now remember, beans are also a great source of protein and are high in antioxidants and fiber, so they're great for you. Okay, I hope you give this recipe a try. I know you won't be disappointed. Recipe in the description below.